They called it a miracle of geology. In the spring of 1968, a team of 12 geologists was sent deep into the Appalachian forest to extract a newly discovered mineral called luminite. It was said to glow faintly in the dark, as if holding a piece of trapped starlight. 3 days after the dig began, radio contact with the camp was lost. When rescue teams finally reached the site, what they found was worse than silence. The tents were torn apart, metal beams bent inward as if crushed by enormous pressure. The soil was scored with parallel grooves, symmetrical and deep, as though carved by blades, not claws. Traces of the team were scattered across the clearing: equipment, torn fabric, fragments of their camp. The men themselves were gone. Radiation levels around the crater were unusually high. All photographic records of the incident vanished within months. The area was fenced off, marked as a hazardous zone and erased from state maps. Only one man survived: Michael Hall, the site's foreman. He was found wandering miles away, barefoot, his hands raw to the bone. He refused to speak of what happened. 5 months later, in a government hospital, he whispered his last words before dying of kidney failure. He said, "It's still digging." For half a century, the hollow slept, buried beneath the soil, forgotten, or at least almost forgotten. A soft electronic beep broke the quiet. The lens of a camera blinked red. A man's voice followed, energetic and rehearsed. "All right, guys, this is it. The fence line of the hollow zone. 50 miles of untouched forest, sealed since the 60s. You're watching history." Ethan grinned into the camera, his reflection caught in the curved metal of the old barrier. Behind him, 4 others climbed the rusted fence. Mara, cautious and alert. Caleb, sarcastic, already laughing at the absurdity. Nina, quiet, scanning the tree line. And Tom, the cameraman, weighed down by his gear. Caleb dropped to the ground with a grunt. "You sure this isn't some radiation hotspot?" Ethan shrugged. "If it was, we'd be glowing by now." "Keep rolling, Tom." "Easy for you to say," Mara muttered. "You don't have to carry the batteries." Beyond the fence, the air changed. It wasn't colder exactly, just heavier. The forest seemed to absorb sound. The leaves barely stirred. When they spoke, their voices came back to them muted, as if the pines themselves were listening. "You smell that?" Mara asked. Nina paused, lifting her head. "Ozone and rust, like a storm without clouds." Ethan smiled. "Adds to the mystery." They moved deeper into the woods. The light thinned as the trees grew closer, their trunks warped, bark stretched and smoothed like melted plastic. The ground underfoot was uneven, blistered with stone that glittered faintly in the shadows. Tom filmed everything in silence. Occasionally, the camera's focus twitched, unable to decide where to settle. After an hour, the forest opened into a clearing. There it stood, a corrugated metal hangar, half buried in moss, its roof bent and streaked with rust. Ethan whistled low. Bingo! The lost outpost. They stepped inside. The air was stale and cold, as if the building had been sealed for years. Rusted tools lay scattered on the floor. Old oxygen tanks, broken drills, jars labeled with faded tags. USGS Sample 12. On the wall, a dented sign swung on a single nail. Supervisor, M. Hall. Nina crouched near the center of the hangar, brushing away layers of dust. Her fingers touched rock. Beneath the debris was something compact, fused together. Stone and metal welded by pressure. The floor slanted slightly there, as if hiding a deeper space below. A faint current of air slipped through the cracks, cool, dry, carrying the smell of minerals and burnt oil. "There's something under this," she said. Ethan joined her, running a hand across the surface. "Looks like they sealed a shaft. Or buried it," Mara murmured. For a while, nobody spoke. Only the low hum of their equipment filled the void. Tom's camera caught dust swirling through beams of light, each particle drifting like ash in slow motion. Ethan finally broke the silence. "We'll camp here for the night. Better light tomorrow. Maybe we'll find the original entrance outside." Mara frowned. "You're sure this place is safe?" He smiled, not answering. They set up their tents inside the hangar. By dusk, the world outside had already gone black. No wind, no crickets, just the metallic stillness pressing in from every direction. Their voices sounded smaller under the curved roof. When the camp stove flickered on, its flame burned blue instead of orange. Tom adjusted his camera, filming the group as they ate. In the lens, the hangar looked like a hollow rib cage, the 5 of them huddled inside it. The reflections in the walls warped slightly when they moved, as if the metal itself breathed with them. Later, when the others drifted off to sleep, Ethan stayed awake. He sat by the sealed floor, tracing the outline of the stones with his fingertips. The air rising from below felt impossibly cold. When Mara woke at dawn, she found him still there, covered in dust, eyes distant and fever-bright. "You didn't sleep," she said. He shook his head slowly. "There's something under there," he whispered. "And I don't think it's just rock." Morning crept through the cracks in the hangar roof, slicing the dust in long, pale beams. Ethan was already awake, standing near the sealed floor where the others had left him hours before. His clothes were coated in gray dust, his eyes bright with a kind of sleepless focus. Mara rubbed her face and glanced at him. "You've been staring at that spot all night," she said softly. He didn't look at her. "There's air moving under the stones. It's warm now." The others gathered around the camp stove, sipping bitter instant coffee. Caleb yawned. "So, genius, what's your plan? Dig it up and get cursed?" Ethan smiled without humor. "Record it." Then Dig Nina frowned, her scientific caution slipping into her tone. "This whole structure could collapse if you start pulling rocks. Let's document and move on." Tom said nothing. He was reviewing footage from the night before, squinting at the playback screen. "Anything good?" Ethan asked. Tom hesitated. "Something weird, look." He turned the camera toward them. In the recording, the hangar looked different. The shadows thicker, deeper. At one point, while everyone slept, the focus shifted and locked onto the sealed patch of floor. The picture trembled for several seconds, as though the lens were reacting to heat distortion, and then stabilized again. No sound, no movement. But the timestamp showed it lasted an hour. Caleb shrugged. "Probably the battery heating up." Ethan didn't respond. His attention stayed fixed on the floor. By midday, the temperature inside the hangar had risen sharply. The air shimmered faintly above the metal tools. Nina checked her handheld meter. Magnetic field spiking. Maybe interference from underground power lines? Caleb laughed. "Yeah, because power lines love being buried under haunted mines." Mara shot him a look. "Stop calling it haunted." He grinned, but his voice wavered. "Fine. Environmentally misunderstood. Better?" Outside, the forest was too still. The drone they'd sent up the previous day had stopped responding, showing only a static feed of treetops frozen in fog. Ethan watched the monitor for a while, then killed the connection. "We'll search on foot later." I want more light on that floor first." He began moving debris, ignoring Nina's protests. The rocks shifted easily, as if loosened by time. Beneath them lay dark soil laced with thin veins of crystal, the same faintly luminous blue mineral they'd read about in the old reports. Mara leaned closer, uneasy. "Don't touch it." Ethan brushed the dirt aside anyway. His fingers came away with a faint shimmer, like fine powder reflecting sunlight. By afternoon, they had cleared a shallow depression no larger than a doorway. The air seeping from below carried a dry, metallic taste. Nina took a sample of the dust. "It's nothing exotic," she murmured. "Just silicates, maybe a trace of phosphorus." Caleb pointed. "Then why is it glowing?" "It's refracting light," she said quickly, though she didn't sound convinced. Ethan stood silent, breathing heavily. His skin looked pale, almost too tight around his hands. "Let's seal it back," Mara said quietly. "Please." He turned to her with a strange calm. No one seals a discovery. That night, the heat didn't fade. The metal walls of the hangar held warmth like a trapped heartbeat. The group tried to sleep, tossing in their tents while a low, irregular vibration pulsed through the floor. Soft enough to doubt, too steady to ignore. Mara woke to the sound of Ethan's camera clicking. He was filming the uncovered patch of soil again, crouched beside it with the flashlight turned off. "Ethan," she whispered, "you're going to make everyone insane." He didn't move. "You hear it?" "Hear what?" "The air. It's breathing different down there." She pulled him back by the shoulder. His skin felt feverish. "Get some sleep," she said, almost pleading. He laughed under his breath. "I'm fine. I've never felt this awake in the morning." Tom noticed the difference first. Ethan moved faster than usual, carrying the heavy equipment as if it weighed nothing. His voice was sharper, his pupils dilated in the thin light. Caleb joked about steroids, but no one laughed. Nina recorded a note into her tablet. "Subject Ethan. Increased physical energy, elevated temperature, erratic behavior. Possible stress response." He heard her, smiled, and said, "Write this down too." Subject Ethan discovered the truth while everyone else was afraid of it. By late afternoon, the weather turned. A thin mist rolled in, swallowing the treetops. The world outside the hangar faded to white. They gathered by the entrance, watching the fog consume the forest. "It wasn't here yesterday," Mara said. Nina nodded. "Temperature's dropping, but the hangar's getting warmer." Behind them, Ethan stood near the exposed ground again, staring at the faint shimmer that pulsed within the dirt like distant lightning. Tom's camera panned to him, the image trembling slightly. Ethan's voice came out low and sure. "It's not the ground that's breathing. It's the thing under it," no one answered. The sound of wind began to rise outside, not blowing through the trees, but moving around them, circling the hangar like something testing its walls. Inside, the air thickened. The smell of rust and ozone returned, stronger now, stinging their throats. Mara backed away from the floor. "Ethan, stop filming," she said. He turned slowly, a faint smile on his lips. "Why would I? This is what we came for." The light from Tom's camera flickered once, catching Ethan's face in half shadow. His eyes reflected that same faint blue glow buried in the soil. And somewhere in the fog outside, a single metallic echo rolled through the forest, low, distant, and hollow. The fog had thickened overnight. It pressed close to the hangar walls, muting every sound. When they woke, the air was so still it felt wrong to breathe it. Nina was gone. Her tent unzipped, her boots by the flap. No footprints led away. No one said a word. Tom's hands shook as he powered up the drone. The propellers whined softly, rising into the haze. On the monitor, a slow-moving ocean of fog. The treetops below looked like shapes beneath ice. Then something moved. A figure, running between the trunks. Fast, deliberate, impossibly smooth. "That's her," Caleb whispered. The figure stopped, turned its head upward, and looked straight into the camera. The screen went black. A sound came from outside. A sharp, metallic groan, followed by another, closer. Dust rained down from the ceiling. The hangar door slammed open. Nina stood there. Her skin was pale and cold-looking, faint light shifting beneath it like something trapped inside glass. Her eyes fixed on Ethan. He stepped forward. "You want to take it from me, don't you?" No one moved. Then she lunged. The impact was brutal and sudden. Metal clanged, air whooshed out of lungs, the floor shook. Mara saw flashes of motion, limbs, light, dust. Caleb shouted, "Go!" He pulled Mara and Tom toward the door. They ran. The fog outside felt heavier, thicker, like a second body pressing against theirs. They sprinted through the wet grass, the hangar vanishing behind them. After 200 meters, they stopped and turned. From the fog that covered the hangar, Ethan emerged. Alone, his face expressionless. His skin glowed faintly from within. "Keep moving," Caleb said. They turned and ran again. Branches whipped their arms, their lungs burned. Behind them, footsteps followed. Slow, steady, unhurried. Tom stumbled, fell hard to the ground. His flashlight hit a rock and rolled. "Get up!" Mara shouted. He tried, and then Ethan appeared, out of the mist, silent, his movements unnervingly calm. Mara saw only a blur before Caleb dragged her away. She didn't look back. They ran until the forest thinned. Caleb stopped first, leaning against a tree. His hands trembled. "Don't stop," Mara said. "Please." He didn't answer right away. Under the dirt on his skin, something shimmered, faint, pulsing veins of light crawling upward. He looked at her, his eyes calm, almost empty. "Go," he said quietly. "I'll stay." "Caleb, don't go." His voice was steady. Mara turned and ran, half blind from tears. Behind her, the forest groaned, a deep sound, like the ground itself had shifted. By the time she reached the fence, the fog had thinned. The metal mesh was slick and cold, dew gathering in the wires. She pressed her hand to it, gasping for breath. For a moment, everything was still. Then she heard it. Soft steps in the wet grass behind her. Slow, even, getting closer. Mara turned. Ethan stepped from the fog. The faint blue glow pulsed beneath his skin, steady as a heartbeat. His expression was calm. He didn't speak. He walked toward her, step by step. The fog rose again, swallowing them both. Weeks later, a rescue team entered the restricted zone. They found the hangar standing, untouched. The floor sealed, no signs of people. But near the wall, in the soft ground, were marks. Long, deep gouges carved into the earth, identical to those recorded in the reports from the 1960s, when the geological crew vanished. The file was sealed again, the fence rebuilt. And still, hikers on the ridge sometimes say that on quiet nights, when the mist crawls down from the peaks, a single blue shadow moves along the hills, silent, fast, and alone. If this story unsettled you, leave a like and let the shadows know. Subscribe for more tales you shouldn't hear after dark. And if you've seen something you can't explain, tell us in the comments. We're always listening.